just like sunshine. It freshens all the day. It tips the peak of life with light and drives the clouds away. And the soul grows glad that hears it and feels its courage strong. A laugh is just like sunshine for cheering folks along. A laugh is just like music. It lingers in the heart. And where its melody is heard, the ills of life depart. And happy thoughts come crowding its joyful notes to greet. A laugh is just like music for making living sweet.
You must not see him any more, she heard her mother say. And though she did her fate deplore, she promised to obey. I must not see you any more, she cried, when he appeared that night. Why then, the thoughtful youth replied, we must turn out the light. Thus did the maid, so true and sweet, her parents' mandate bow. Although as heretofore they meet, she does not see him now.
The train had just pulled out of the depot when a round-faced, red-cheeked boy about 6 years old stood up in a reclining chair and surveyed the car. Isn't it funny, Mama, he observed to a pretty woman of 30 who sat by his side, that all of these people took a notion to go same day we did. It's the same every day, darling, the lady answered. Say, Mama, just look at that man with the funny nose. What makes it so red? Shh, hush. But Mama, see him smile? Don't talk anymore, darling. The youngster got up on the seat and leaned against the back of and looked hard at the red-nosed gentleman behind. He was quiet for 2 minutes when he observed, Say, mister, what makes your nose so red? The pretty woman of 30 blushed until she was redder than the bulbous nose. Come here, my little man, said the gentleman softly, and I'll tell you all about it. The boy jumped down, and before his mother could catch him, he was in the red-nosed gentleman's lap. Do you want a banana? The gentleman asked. Oh, yes, said the boy, but first I want you to tell me what makes your nose red. His tones were very distinct. The mother blushed furiously, and once or twice all thought she was about to turn around and apologize to the gentleman with the red nose. But she sat still and looked at her hands. Here comes the fruit man, said the gentleman softly. Do you want an orange too? Oh, yes, and some figs. Have you got a little boy? Yes, I have 3 little boys. Is all their noses red? Somebody behind laughed, and the gentleman looked sour. Even the pretty woman of 30, now red-faced, smiled a little. And say, mister, don't it feel funny to have a red nose? Shh. Do you want this orange? Yes, but I think I would be hot there at the end. Isn't this a nice banana? Oh, let me feel the end of your nose, mister. The little woman ahead could stand it no longer. She jumped from her seat and went back to the youngster. I'm afraid, sir, she said to the gentleman with the red nose, that my little boy is disturbing you. Oh, not at all, said the gentleman. On the contrary, madam, I'm enjoying his company very much. Say, Mama, chirped the youngster, this gentleman says he's got 3 little boys with red noses. Herbert, ain't you, mister? Oh, yes, the gentleman returned with evident effort. Come with Mama, dearie. We must go to sleep soon. I'd rather stay here. The gentleman was silent. Well, you must keep quiet, said the pretty woman of 30. I will, Mama. 2 minutes later, the traveler heard a faint whisper from the boy. Say, mister, he said, ain't you glad you got such a red nose? Oh, there was a snicker across the aisle. No, whispered the gentleman hoarsely. Keep still. There was more silence while the boy slowly ate his banana. He felt rebuked, and inch by inch he slid from the lap of the gentleman with the red nose. Then he ran to the pretty woman of 30. Say, Mama, he said after he had nestled in her skirts a moment, you don't know how funny that gentleman's red nose feels. Just then the conductor happened in. He was instantly hailed by 2 persons who chorused, have you a lower berth in the sleeper? Just 2, replied the conductor. I want to go back with my little boy, said the pretty woman of 30. And you, sir? Queried the conductor. I have concluded not to go on. I will take a berth in the return sleeper if you have one left. It was the gentleman with the red nose.
Teaching a man to waltz. Did you ever teach a man to waltz? If you never have, don't attempt it. I went through such an ordeal, and this is all about it. In the first place, I stood beside him, took hold of his hand, and tried to illustrate how the first step went. Then I told him to do as I did, and he began to seesaw back and forth like a wild Indian. When he whirled around, both arms sprung out, sometimes hitting me in the eyes, and occasionally giving me a whack in the back of the head. His feet made themselves into Chinese puzzles. He invariably toed in, walked on his own heels, or else pranced around heel and toe fashion. He said that he had no idea that he had so little control over his feet. I had to sit down every few moments to collect my thoughts, catch my breath, and refrain from growing incurably cross-eyed, trying to keep track of the whereabouts of his shoes. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, until my lips became parched from constant counting. You'd have thought that he was walking through snowdrifts to watch his steps. Such wiggling, twisting, and twirling I never before gazed upon. I kept saying, you must be very tired. Won't you rest a while? And he always answered, tired? Well, I guess not. This is just too jolly. And then off he'd go in a mad tangle of jumps, and all the time he sang that awful thing about my left foot is crazy, my right foot is lazy. Now don't be an onazy, I'll learn yous to waltz. After a while, he insisted on my dancing with him. Well, when I'd start, he'd be puzzling about which foot he should begin with, or else he'd say, hold on till I think of something to whistle. When we did make a beginning, he used me for a pivot and raced around me as if he were the tire of a wheel and I the hub. Oh, it was awful. And when we got all through with the lesson, I was puzzling my brains to wondering why it wasn't more successful. It suddenly dawned on my weak little mind that I had taught him to begin with the same foot that girls begin with. So I suppose I've got to go through the whole thing again the next time he calls.
No, I have not seen the rough draft of a letter. No, Mom, nothing of the sort. Rough or tender. If anything goes astray in this house, they blame me for it. Whereas, as Mr. Form says, being a legalite, it is Teaser who snaps up everything. Yet this time, they're about half right. Teaser may be nibbling the other portion, but see what I found? This is part of what Ma's making such a fuss about. Only a scrap, but a puzzle which would give the Sphinx a twisting headache. I think the dog will have the toothache if he eats the other half. I can divine who wrote it because it need not be a very wise child to know its own father's hand, but to whom is it indicted? No go. It's very wide apart being a rough draft, but I cannot read between the lines, far less the lines themselves on piecemeal. Now, why should Mama want to recover a rough draft from the puppy or me? Unless it would cause a premature explosion for strange hands to capture it. It is I whom she wishes to keep it from because my name figures in it. That's an advantage, or the other thing in giving girls unusual names. Lesbia. There is only one Lesbia around here. But it is hard to catch the drift of it when the heart of it is missing. Teaser's got it? Here, Teaser. I would he were a retriever. Granting that Papa scribbled it, who is the fair copy for? My dear young friend, my stiff cold progenitor does not call Tom, Dick, and Harry dear young friend, I assure you. Delighted that you are to learn that you are what? Is that not too provoking? Oh, what a dog! To render revelation at the most most elucidating line. And like him, a prince. My gracious. We are climbing a mighty tall pedigree tree, methinks. A prince. This accords with Ma's lofty ideals. Redoubling my joy in your great victory. This is some military worthy whose name has echoed in the trump of fame. This soars above me. I have seen no prince famous for his victories. She is indubitably selfish. Who, me or Ma? It seems this cruel document treats of me and treats me severely. Selfish, forsooth. Charming daughter. Oh, this is an ointment after the lash of selfish, is it? Now, is that sarcasm or exuberance of affection? Vogo, gush on Pop's part. You have won the bat. What, is it only a conflict on the diamond after all? Not some prince of the old country, but a king of the curves or the like? Ball. Baseball, would that be? Pooh, everybody's a ball player these days. Welcome when you next what? Call? Is he a hand? Or right if afar? Oh, you tiny batch of thorny mysteries. But here's the explanation. I mean the keynote, which, like most keynotes, leaves you in a fog. Lesbia's hand. It all turns on my hand, does it? Prince, victories, bad or battle, I guess. Learn, writer revered, that your Lesbia's hand goes only where her heart impels it. In all sin. That's a pretty finish. But the dog has bit off sincerity for a verity. And the superscription? I do not know what went before, but here is this much. To Captain. Captain? Well, a prince may hold captain among his titles. Now, captain of what? Alas, he might be a she and captain in the Salvation Army. What was there? What did the letters go when rubbed out? Teaser, you are well named this time. Here, little Petsy Wootsy, come here and give up the bit of paper. That's you miserable little brute. If I lay hold of you, I will squeeze the letter out of you. For this letter is my life, my love. My dear young friend, we are such hypocrites that may cover our bitterest foe. joy, and great victory. Tush. Since old Glory took the field, several fields, I may say, we have been overjoyed with great victories. Selfish. So they are not to let me know what was impending. Welcome. It is clear that the prince is welcome to him, to them, for Papa would not dare receive an emperor unless Mamma wrote approved on his card. Lesbia's hand. That is clear and firm, like the original. Well, being a prince, it is none that I know, and my course is already taken. I have already turned the cold water upon Mr. Mac Micklemuckle, genteel, correct, strictly business, who first sold his yacht to Uncle Samuel, and then the arms and stores to equip her, saying nothing of a ton he made as head of the Tar and Turpentine Trust. Unless he has bought a Roman title, he is no prince. Ruled off. There is Major Fusilier, Pop's chum. He bought a Cuban plantation cheap of a Rio Grande hanging back to Spain and announces he will grow up with our new territory. But bless you, granted that the Lone Star Republic gives titles, I don't want to be Princess of Guava Jelly. Now, to be sure, Mr. Ron Rhinestone claims to be aristocratic, cousin of a landless dude. He may be a prince. As a diamond dealer, he may have swapped crystals for the title. I don't own sparklers, but that dull, old, prosy, broken English and broken voice two-time? No, I thank you. Even if he is a prince, he is not sparkler enough for this. Mine hand remains Squire Ossian Forum. Only a local justice up where we spend the summer. But a big political power, they say. They even say pow-wower. For he palavers everybody. Father says he will be a senator in 2 presidential terms. Mrs. Senator Forum. That knocks princess in wise, but who is it there welcoming to come and snatch my hand as if it did not belong to me, but was my parents to give away? Stop, I have forgotten Mr. Slag. Russia sent him the order of St. Agnostikov, which he wears, and it is mistaken for the medal for a century run. What did he get it for? A refinement in kerosene oil. Would he refine his manner? Perhaps a prince's patent was wrapped up in the certificate. These fell outside the description as completely as my dear, Putnam, my dear Putnam. Do take me away from here where they are holding me captive before palming me off upon this horrid prince, whom but to see will be to detest. I am positively certain. Must I wait in tribulation keener than before, while my unnatural perience meditate? My blood revolts at the approach of what do I see? The paper? To 1 box of cigars. Trash. Oh, some more scraps. That dog has forgotten his vocation and is building a nest of letters. Huzzah! Likewise, hooray, it is the absent party. Yes, they match. Now for the secret. My dear young friend, delighted to learn that you are the son of my old brother officer, and like him as well, a prince. Tingrad, with all the honors, in fact, redoubling my joy in your great victory over my wife in particular, as she is indubitably selfish about keeping beside her our only and charming daughter. But you have won the battle of love. Like myself, Mrs. B will welcome you when you next call as an accepted suitor for Lesbia's hand. In all sincerity, yours, etc., Andrew J. Buffum to Captain Putnam Millrace, USA. Putnam, my own Put. Glad it's no name for it. You may be a rough draft, but you come sweet and smooth to my lips because of his name on it. When I feared him was gloomy. He joked. He said that golden brass, that was for the politician, and diamonds and all would be repelled, but putty would stick. So, Mamma did not wish to part with me. She does love me a little better than her dog. Here, Teasers, you shall have a new collar for this. This early intelligence of my happy fate is due to that pesky puppy.
Do you want to take gas? Asked Dr. Pullum of a big, robust-looking woman who had come into his office to have some teeth extracted. Well, that's what I hardly know, doctor, and I wanted to talk to you about it. I'm just an awful coward, and I'm afraid I'll screech awfully if I don't take anything. And then again, maybe it wouldn't be so bad after all. My husband's sister had 14 teeth out at one sitting and never took a single thing, nor give a single screech. But then she ain't a bit nervous, and I am, and I don't think that I could have even one out without screaming awfully. And have you ever taken gas? No, I've not. And I said I never would. My cousin's wife's mother took gas, and she says that she felt everything exactly the same as if she hadn't taken it. And it made her so dreadfully sick, she had to be taken home in a carriage, and she never did get clean over it. Of course, it was a cheap dentist, and Cousin Sarah thinks it was poor gas, for he didn't charge but 15 cents for it. But it cost her 20 times that in doctor bills afterward, to say nothing of the misery she endured. I don't think that it ever pays to go in for cheapness when it comes to doctors or dentists or anything likely to affect the health. If I should take gas, I'd want it to be of the best grade, and I assure you, madam, that I never administer any other kind. Oh, no, I'm sure you don't. My husband's sister's aunt gets her work done here, and she says I could depend on the best work and the most gentlemanly treatment here. And that if I did take gas, it would be of the best. But my sister-in-law's stepmother took gas in a nice place where she paid $2 for it, and it made her carry on awfully. She laughed and hugged the dentist and talked silly and squirmed out of the chair and carried on awfully. And I'd hate dreadfully to do anything of that sort. Then again, I think, what if I shouldn't come too? I've read of several different persons dying in dentist's chairs. My heart ain't weak that I know of, and my doctor says I could take ether or chloroform if I wanted to, but that's something I simply would not take. I've a perfect horror of anything of that kind, and I'd be sure I'd never come out of it. My husband's half-brother's wife's sister's husband took ether and never come out of it. And I've heard my mother tell about a man who took chloroform to have some teeth out, and he never come out of it. And as for cocaine, I'm afraid of it because my brother's son by his first marriage. Do you want to take gas? That's what I want to talk to you about. If I could be sure it wouldn't leave any after effects or make me do anything silly or sicken me. Or an old friend of mine named Lucy Jane Tandy. Her name is Hooper now. She married a man of that name the fall I married my husband. And she lives out west now and has 5 lovely children. She sent me all of their photographs only last week. If I thought I might have brought them with me. Anyhow, her husband took something to have his teeth out, and Lucy Jane thinks it salivated him. And he did think of suing the dentist. And no one could blame him either. But then it wasn't gas he took. And, well, my teeth don't pain me very much. And I'm in no hurry about having them out. So I'll come in again and talk to you about it. But to tell the honest truth, doctor, I don't believe very much in gas. No, I should think you didn't, muttered the dentist between his set teeth as she disappeared.
What is love? Love is a bob-tailed flush, and marriage is the draw. Maybe you complete the hand, and maybe you don't. Generally, you don't, but you've got to stay in the game anyway. Every time the other fellow raises, you've got to see him and maybe go him a few better. When the other fellow gives his wife diamond earrings, You see him, the diamonds, and raise him a sealskin sack. Of course, your wife doesn't really need the sealskin because she's got an otter skin already, but she thinks she oughter have the sealskin because the other woman has, and so she ought. We don't buy clothes to keep our wives warm. It's to make the other ladies warm. Then you go over to Frankenheimer's and ask them what it will cost to clean up your overcoat, restitch the buttonholes, and patch the lining. Some scientists say that love is a disease, and the day may come when they'll be lined up before a little window in the health department looking for marriage licenses. If it is a disease, it at least has one good point. The only people who are kept up at nights by it are the patients themselves. Many European scientists are among the supporters of the love disease theory. The Sultan of Turkey probably is the greatest sufferer in the world from this disease. He has about 1,000 wives, and that's why we call him the sick man of Europe. And no wonder he can't pay his bills. Love is one of the most complex problems ever propounded. It begins with addition when you marry her, subtraction when she begins to grow familiar with your purse, and it frequently ends in division. Now, I don't want you to infer that I'm against love in marriage. I'm up against it, but not against it. If love is a disease, why, the more sickness there is in the family, the better. Nobody, I dare say, is better qualified to speak of the tender passion than my distinguished friend, Professor Wheeler Bug of Kentucky. Professor Bug is crazier than a loon, and I feel that I may therefore quote him on this subject with great assurance. Love, says Professor Bug, is blind in its earlier stages, but marriage is an encyclopedia with raised letters. I'm sorry to say that Professor Bug's marriage was unhappy. His wife used to throw rolling pins, flat irons, chairs, tables, and other chattels at him. How will your wife live? I asked him after he had left her. Oh, he answered, feeling of a bump on his brow. She ought to be able to get a job as a furniture mover, all right. His marital experiences, I fear, have made the good professor somewhat cynical.
If you tell her she's modest or tell her she's vain, she'll giggle. She heeds not the fact that it gives you pain, that giggle. Though you may address her in a serious key, make speech that presents no occasion for glee or even for smiling, her answer will be a giggle. She runs to the door when her Charlie boy rings and giggles. Conceited for sparking within the bright rays of dollar-per gas of the gate's cheery gaze, she answers the sugary things that he says with giggles. In church, if she catches a girly chum's eye, she giggles. There's no provocation. She doesn't know why. Just giggles. She'll arch up her eyebrows like the back of a cat that stands off the dog in the rear of the flat and gives her eyelashes a humorous bat. And giggles. If called to the bier of a dead, silent friend, she'd giggle. If Gabriel's trump should bring time to an end, she'd giggle. If up to the great judgment bar she were led to list to her fate the quick and the dead, she'd think it was funny and shake her fool head and giggle. Oh.
Previously to concluding the termination of my cogitations this evening, I feel the obligation imposed upon me to indicate to the seekers of knowledge before me that I have full cognizance of a tendency as fatal as pernicious to exhaust the dictionary when the parlance of ordinary life should suffice for the transmission from mental evolution into audible enunciation of what you want to say. What emolument can be expected by the maternal watcher beside the cradle by singing oscillate diminutive infant in the most altitudinous pinnacle of arboreal elevation, if rockabye baby in the treetop is signified? Therefore, in promulgating communicative excoriations or diffusing expensive lucubrations, cease to expatiate in ponderous platitudinates. Elaborate your superficial statements down to a finished punctilio so that the compactness, concision, and concentred cogency will smite the hearer betwixt the atmosphere and the aqueous medium. Thus, no criticizer will accuse you of conglomerating a flated garrulity with or without jejune and jejulious affectation. Be vivacious without ferocity if possible, as even riotous rhodomontade or sorosio bombast exaggerate you to a drop like a sanguineous tinted calorified tamale, such that is many syllabic profundity as verbosity complements itself upon. It is this vacuous tergiversation upon which I am dwelling, perhaps at too immeasurable longitude. I hear no from an illusionary spectator. I thank the gentleman, unless it is a lady. As I was parading, I allow me to repress this irrelevant raillery which might allure me, I may even say concoct me still farther towards my subject. It follows through such inherent jocularity, I will not say jocosity, there being wares of the cloth present, that there is no necessity, in order to convey your apprehensions, for you to masticate the whole glossary, the Mexicon of youth, or Sims' crab on hymns, but spread it right out.
A laugh is just like sunshine. It freshens all the day. It tips the peak of life with light and drives the clouds away. The soul grows glad that hears it and feels its courage strong. A laugh is just like sunshine for cheering folks along. A laugh is just like music. It lingers in the heart, and where its melody is heard, the ills of life depart, and happy thoughts come crowding its joyful notes to greet. A laugh is just like music for making living sweet.